The sun was setting on the horizon of the new colony world. Golden light spread over the wide fields, touching the metal walls of the small settlement. The colony was still young, only a few dozen families working hard to make the soil rich enough to grow food. Their homes were simple, built from strong panels brought from Earth. Every evening the people gathered outside to share meals and stories after long hours of work. That evening was different. The ground shook softly as something heavy landed beyond the farms. Children playing near the edge of the settlement stopped and stared. A silver starship rested on the flat land, glowing gently as its engines cooled. It was not a large warship but a small vessel, smooth and elegant in shape. For a moment silence fell on the colony. Adults stepped outside their homes. Farmers put down their tools. Everyone's eyes turned to the strange visitor. The ship door opened with a hiss. A figure stepped out slowly, careful not to alarm the people. It was a girl. She looked very much like a human at first glance, with long dark hair and a slender build. But when the light touched her face, the difference was clear. Faint silver markings ran along her skin, tracing lines across her cheeks and arms like natural tattoos. Her eyes were bright, shining as if they carried stars inside them. The children whispered to each other. Some were excited, some were afraid. One boy ran back to call the leader of the colony. Soon, Tomasz, a tall man with steady eyes, arrived with several others. He raised his hand to keep the people calm. The girl stood at the bottom of the ramp, her hands open in peace. Her voice was soft but carried across the field. My name is Lyra. I come as a traveler. I seek no harm. I only wish to learn about humans. Her words were clear, spoken in the human tongue though with a slight accent. The colonists exchanged uneasy looks. Encounters with alien visitors were rare and often tense. But Lyra's voice carried no threat. She seemed young, perhaps not much older than the colony's own youth. Tomasz stepped forward. His people waited, trusting his judgment. He studied the stranger carefully. Her silver markings were strange but not frightening. Her ship looked advanced yet unarmed. After a moment of silence, Tomasz spoke. You are welcome in our colony, but we are cautious. We do not know your people. You may stay if you bring no danger to us. Lyra bowed her head slightly, showing respect. I understand. My journey is one of knowledge, not conquest. I wish to see how humans live so far from their home world. The tension in the air eased, though not completely. The colonists watched her with both curiosity and suspicion. Children peeked from behind their parents, whispering about her glowing eyes. Some of the older men kept their hands near their tools, ready in case of danger. But no danger came. As night approached, Lyra was invited to join the evening meal. Long tables were set outside under the open sky. The people offered her bread, fruit, and cooked roots from their first harvest. She accepted with a grateful smile. While eating, she asked many questions. She wanted to know how they built their homes, how they planted crops in foreign soil, how they found courage to live so far from Earth. Her curiosity was endless, yet she listened with great care to every answer. The colonists began to see her not as a threat but as a student eager to learn. Some even smiled at her enthusiasm. Still, a quiet mystery surrounded her. She never spoke about her own people, only about her desire to understand humans. That night, after the meal, the children gathered around her. They asked if she could show them her ship. She agreed, leading them to the silver vessel. The ramp lowered and lights flickered inside. The children gasped at the smooth walls and glowing panels. Everything inside looked alive, as if the ship itself was breathing. Lyra explained that her ship was grown from living metal, not built. This amazed the children even more. Tomasz and the other adults watched carefully, making sure nothing dangerous happened. But Lyra remained calm and kind, guiding the children and answering their endless questions. She even laughed softly when a little girl tried to touch the silver markings on her skin. Later, when the children were sent home, Tomasz approached Lyra once again. "Why have you come here, truly?" he asked. She looked at him with her bright eyes. "Because your people are different. I have traveled many stars, but humans are unlike any species I have met. I want to see what gives you strength. I want to understand your hearts." Tomasz studied her for a long moment. He did not fully trust her yet, but he felt no lies in her words. Finally, he nodded. "Then you may stay and learn. But know this, we protect our people with our lives. If any harm comes from you, we will act." Lyra bowed again. "I accept your terms." That night, the colony returned to rest. Some still feared the stranger, while others felt excitement at the chance to know more about the universe. The children dreamed of silver ships and glowing eyes. Tomasz remained awake, watching the stars, wondering what her arrival meant for their future. And Lyra, inside her ship, sat by the window and stared at the human small lights shining in the settlement. She whispered to herself words no one else could hear. "These humans carry something powerful. I must discover what it is." The colony did not yet know how deeply their lives would change. Lyra's arrival was only the beginning of a story that would touch every heart among them. The next morning began with soft light spreading over the colony. Farmers walked into the fields, carrying tools and checking their crops. Children ran about, laughing and playing in the open space. The sound of work mixed with the sound of life. Yet everyone knew that this day was not like the ones before. The stranger from the stars was still among them. Lyra left her ship early, stepping carefully on the dusty ground. The silver markings on her skin shone faintly as the sunlight touched them. She moved slowly so the people would not think of her as a threat. Her eyes studied every detail of the colony. She saw how the homes were made of metal and wood, simple but strong. She noticed how each family had a small garden, and how men and women worked side by side to make the soil give life. When she walked near the fields, she saw Tomasz speaking with Aaron, one of the colony's strongest workers. Aaron was lifting heavy tools with ease, his clothes stained with soil, his arms marked with sweat from early labor. Lyra paused for a moment, observing him silently. He noticed her and gave a nod, not with fear but with calm respect. She nodded back, a small smile touching her lips. Tomasz introduced her to the workers. His voice carried authority, but also a tone of trust. "This is Lyra. She has come from far away to learn about us. Treat her with respect, but stay cautious. She is a guest." The people listened. Some gave polite greetings, while others kept their distance. Lyra thanked them in her soft voice. She walked among them as they worked, asking questions. She wanted to know why humans worked the land when machines could do it faster. Aaron answered her with a steady voice. "We could build machines, yes. But the soil teaches patience. When we touch it with our hands, we learn to care for it. We build a bond. If we rely only on machines, we forget the meaning of work." Lyra's eyes grew wide. She had never heard such words before. On her world, machines did everything. Her people saw labor as weakness. Yet here was a man who spoke of soil with pride, as if it was alive. She followed his movements as he guided the plow, his arms steady and strong, his voice calm when giving advice to the younger workers. Later in the day, she visited the school where the children gathered. The teacher welcomed her, though a little nervously. Lyra sat with the young ones as they practiced writing letters on simple tablets. She leaned close, studying how they smiled even when they made mistakes. She asked a boy why he laughed when his word was wrong. The boy replied, "Because mistakes mean I am learning. Next time I will do better." This answer surprised her as much as Aaron's words had. Among her people, mistakes were seen as shameful. Here, mistakes were seen as steps toward growth. She looked at the children with wonder. In the afternoon, Tomasz invited her to walk through the market square. It was a small place, just a circle of tables where families traded goods. People sold fruit, tools, cloth, and small crafts. She saw a young man carving figures of wood, shaping them into animals. She picked one up gently, turning it in her hand. The figure was rough, not perfect, but filled with life. "You sell this?" she asked. The young man nodded. "Yes. It may not be perfect, but it carries my time and care." Lyra felt warmth in her chest. She set the figure down carefully, respecting the work. She turned to Tomasz. "Your people value effort, not only results. I have seen this again and again today." Tomasz smiled slightly. "It is how we survive. Out here, far from Earth, we only have each other. Effort keeps us alive. Kindness keeps us together." As evening came, the colony gathered for another meal. Lyra sat again at the long table, this time closer to Aaron and some of the workers. She listened as they shared stories of Earth, speaking of rivers, mountains, and old cities they had left behind. She noticed how their eyes softened with memory, but also hardened with determination. They had chosen this life of hardship to build something new. She spoke little during the meal, but her mind was full. She thought about the strength of the men, their laughter even after hard labor, and the way they protected their families. She thought about the children's joy in learning, and the care they gave to their small tasks. She thought about Tomasz, who balanced caution with kindness, guiding his people firmly but fairly. Later that night, when the stars spread wide above, Lyra walked to the edge of the colony. Aaron stood there, watching the sky. She joined him quietly. For a moment neither spoke. The night air was cool, carrying the smell of soil and smoke from the cooking fires. Finally, she asked him a question. "Do you not feel small under these stars? Do you not fear the vastness of the universe?" Aaron shook his head. "The universe is vast, yes. But fear does not guide us. Hope does. We may be small, but together we can shape our future. That is enough." Lyra felt her chest tighten. She had expected answers of logic, perhaps of survival. Instead, she heard words of courage. She looked at him for a long time. His face was tired from work, yet his eyes carried light. She turned away quickly, afraid he would see the emotion rising inside her. As she walked back to her ship, she whispered softly to herself. "They are different. They live with fire in their hearts. I must learn more." Inside the colony, people began to speak of her more openly. Some still worried about her presence, but others were curious. They noticed how she asked questions but never demanded, how she listened more than she spoke, how she seemed fascinated by their simplest ways. Lyra, in turn, felt her own curiosity growing stronger each day. But it was not just about human survival or culture anymore. It was about something deeper, something she did not yet understand. She had seen strength in men who carried tools instead of weapons. She had seen warmth in laughter after a long day of labor. She had seen something in Aaron's steady eyes that stirred her heart in ways she could not explain. And so, as the second night came to an end, Lyra stood by her ship, gazing at the settlement lights in the distance. She knew she was no longer just an observer. The humans were beginning to touch her soul. The days passed, and Lyra became a familiar figure in the colony. At first people were careful around her, but slowly they began to treat her as one of their own. She worked with them in the fields, learned in the school with the children, and even helped repair tools when they broke. Her silver markings and shining eyes no longer seemed strange. Instead, they became symbols of mystery and wonder. But deep inside, Lyra felt something more than simple curiosity. She carried questions she did not yet dare to speak aloud. She found herself drawn to the human men more than anything else. Their strength was not just in their arms but in their character. They smiled after hard work, they shared their food with each other, and they carried hope in their voices. It confused her heart, because among her own people, such warmth was rare. One evening, as the sky burned orange with sunset, a group of colonists gathered around a campfire near the center of the settlement. It was a tradition to share stories at the fire after a long day. Tomasz sat on a log, his calm presence keeping everyone steady. Aaron sat beside him, his hands resting on his knees, his eyes reflecting the flames. Children sat on the ground, eager for tales of Earth. Women and men listened while preparing food for the night. Lyra joined them quietly. She sat close enough to hear but far enough not to disturb. Her bright eyes followed every word as Tomasz began to speak. When we first came to this land, Tomasz said, we had nothing but each other. The soil was hard, the weather was cruel, and the nights were cold. But we stood together. We built these homes with our own hands, and we learned to trust in the strength of our community. That is why we are here today. The people nodded, some smiling with pride. Aaron added his own voice. When storms came, we tied the roofs ourselves. When crops failed, we shared what little food we had. No one was left behind. That is the human way. Lyra's heart beat faster. She had traveled across many worlds, but she had never heard such words. Her people valued knowledge, power, and distance. They avoided showing need or weakness. Yet here were men speaking openly of struggle and unity. Their honesty carried a power stronger than weapons. Later, when the children begged for more stories, Aaron spoke again. He told them about Earth's wide oceans and tall mountains. He described rivers that ran like silver snakes, forests so thick a person could walk for days in their shade, and skies filled with birds of every color. His voice carried both sadness and pride. The children leaned forward, imagining a home they had never seen. Lyra listened in silence. Aaron's words painted pictures in her mind more beautiful than any place she had visited in her travels. She wondered why his voice stirred something inside her. She watched the way his eyes softened when he spoke of his home world, and how his hands moved with quiet strength. As the fire crackled and the night grew deeper, people slowly returned to their homes. Only a few remained at the fire, Tomasz, Aaron, and Lyra among them. The silence between them was gentle, broken only by the sound of wind. Lyra finally spoke, her voice low. You humans speak with such warmth. You carry your past like treasure. I have met many species, but none speak this way. Why do you not hide your pain? Why do you share it so openly? Aaron looked at her, his face calm but thoughtful. Because pain is part of us. If we hide it, we forget who we are. Sharing it reminds us that we are not alone. His answer struck her deeply. She lowered her head, whispering more to herself than to them. Among my people, pain is weakness. No one shares it. No one speaks of it. That is why your voices confuse me. They feel different. Tomasz studied her carefully. Perhaps your people fear what they cannot face. But here, we believe strength is not in silence but in honesty. Lyra felt a strange tightness in her chest. She did not know how to explain the storm of thoughts inside her. For the first time, she felt the need to confess something, yet she held it back. Instead, she simply listened as Aaron and Tomasz spoke about their plans for the colony. When the fire began to die, Tomasz stood and returned to his home, leaving Lyra and Aaron alone. The stars above were bright, filling the night sky with endless light. Lyra looked at Aaron, her eyes reflecting the starlight. I do not understand, she said softly. Your people live with so much struggle, yet you laugh. You lose, yet you hope again. And you, Aaron, you work harder than anyone, yet your voice is always steady. I have met many across the stars, but none stir my heart as you do. Aaron looked surprised. He gave a small smile but said nothing at first. Finally, he answered with simple words. Maybe it is because we are human. We are not perfect, but we keep trying. Lyra turned her gaze to the fire's last embers. She felt her cheeks grow warm, though the night was cool. She wanted to say more, to tell him how deeply his presence affected her, but her voice stopped. She feared revealing too much, too soon. Instead, she asked him another question. Do you ever miss Earth so much that it hurts? He nodded. Every day. But I also know we must build a future here. That is why I stay strong. If I give in to sadness, I fail the people who trust me. His words carried the weight of duty and love. Lyra stared at him, realizing she admired him more than she ever admitted to herself. The feelings inside her were no longer only curiosity. They were something deeper, something dangerous, something she was not ready to speak aloud. As the night ended, Lyra returned to her ship. She lay awake, her mind filled with Aaron's voice, his eyes, and his steady strength. She whispered to herself, why do they move my heart so? Why do these men feel like light to me? The colony slept, unaware that in the heart of their alien guest, a secret was beginning to grow. It was a secret she could not hide forever. The next days in the colony passed with busy work. The fields demanded care, the machines needed repair, and new houses were still being built. Everyone had a task, and even the children carried water or collected small tools to help their parents. Lyra stayed close to the workers, learning as much as she could. She moved with quiet grace, always asking questions and always ready to lend her hands. At first, her help was clumsy. She did not understand the weight of tools or the stubbornness of soil. But instead of mocking her, the humans guided her patiently. They showed her how to lift, how to dig, how to tighten bolts with the right strength. She noticed something very strange: human men never grew angry at her mistakes. They corrected her with calm voices, even smiling when she failed. For her, this was new. In her world, mistakes brought silence or punishment. Here, mistakes brought teaching. One morning, Aaron worked on a broken farming machine near the edge of the fields. The gears had jammed, and the machine refused to move. Sweat covered his arms as he pulled at the heavy parts. Lyra stood nearby, watching closely. "Can I try?" she asked softly. Aaron looked at her with surprise, then nodded. "Careful. These parts are sharp. Watch your hands." She bent beside him, her silver markings catching the morning sun. Her hands were smaller, but she tried to push the gear into place. It did not move. She frowned and tried again, her strength too little. Aaron placed his larger hand beside hers, guiding her grip. With his help, the gear shifted slowly into position. The machine groaned and then clicked back to life. Lyra looked up at him, her eyes bright. "You trusted me to help. Even when I was weak." Aaron smiled. Strength grows when two hands work together. Alone, the gear would not move. Together, it works again. That is the way of humans. His words stayed in her heart. She felt warmth spread through her chest, not from the sun but from the kindness in his voice. She found herself watching him too long, noticing the way he wiped sweat from his brow, the way his smile reached his eyes. She quickly turned away, afraid he might see the strange feelings in her gaze. That evening, after the work was done, the colony gathered again. Music rose from simple flutes and drums, played by those who still carried Earth's traditions. Children danced around the fire while the adults clapped. Lyra sat close to the flames, her eyes following the movement of the people. Their joy was alive and loud. She felt it inside her, pulling her closer to them. When the dance ended, Aaron sat near her, his shoulders relaxed after a long day. For a while, they did not speak. The fire crackled, the stars shone, and laughter drifted around them. Finally, Lyra broke the silence. "Aaron, may I ask you something?" He turned to her with calm eyes. "Of course. Why do you laugh so easily? Even when your days are hard, even when storms destroy your fields, you laugh again. How do you find such strength?" Aaron thought for a moment before answering. "Because life is short. If we do not laugh, if we do not share joy, then our struggles win. Laughter is not weakness. It is proof that we are still alive." His answer made her chest tighten again. She lowered her eyes, whispering softly, "I have never known such a way. Among my people, laughter is rare. Emotion is hidden. Yet here, it shines like fire. It draws me in." Aaron tilted his head, studying her carefully. "Does it trouble you?" She shook her head quickly. "No. It confuses me, but it also warms me. I feel something I cannot explain. Your people live in a way my heart does not resist. And you, Aaron, you carry a strength I cannot ignore." Her voice trembled as she spoke. She had not planned to say so much, but the words spilled from her lips. Aaron looked at her with quiet surprise, his expression gentle. He did not mock her, nor did he pull away. Instead, he gave her a steady nod. "We are simple people, Lyra. We work, we laugh, we fight storms together. If you feel something in that, then maybe you are closer to us than you think." She wanted to say more, but fear held her tongue. Instead, she gave a small smile and turned her gaze back to the fire. Inside her, however, the confession had begun. A seed had been planted in her heart, one she knew would only grow. The next day, the colony faced trouble. Dark clouds gathered above, thick and heavy. Winds began to rise, carrying dust across the fields. Tamash called out orders, telling everyone to secure the crops and protect the homes. Men ran to tie down roofs, women gathered the children, and older youths carried supplies inside. The colony moved with practiced speed, each person knowing their role. Lyra joined the men in the fields. The storm winds cut across her skin, but she refused to step back. Aaron shouted instructions, his voice steady against the roar. Together, they pulled heavy covers over the young plants, tied ropes to wooden stakes, and carried tools inside. The storm grew wild, yet no one abandoned the work. Lyra felt the strength of the men beside her. They did not flee, they did not hide. They faced the storm with courage, their bodies against the wind, their voices rising in unity. She had never seen such will before. Among her people, storms were left to machines. But here, humans stood with their hands and hearts against nature itself. When the storm finally passed, the colony was bruised but safe. Crops had been saved, homes still stood, and the people gathered once more, exhausted but smiling. Aaron stood among them, his clothes torn, his arms scraped, but his face calm. Lyra looked at him and felt her heart race. She could no longer deny what she felt. That night, when the colony rested, Lyra found herself walking beside Aaron again. Her voice shook, but she forced the words out. "I must tell you something. When I see how you live, how you fight storms, how you laugh and stay kind, I feel a pull inside me. My people do not carry such warmth. Human men, they are too tempting for me. Their strength, their courage, their hearts. I cannot resist admiring them." Aaron stood silent for a moment. The night wind blew softly, carrying the scent of wet soil. He finally placed his hand on her shoulder, not with passion but with gentle respect. "Lyra, you honor us with your words. But remember, we are only human. We are not perfect. We are just people trying to live." She nodded, though her eyes shone with unspoken feelings. Her confession was only the beginning, but it had left her heart lighter. For the first time, she had spoken the truth of what she carried inside. The morning after the storm was quiet. The air smelled fresh, the soil damp, and the sky washed clear of clouds. The colony was tired but proud. Families checked their homes, children ran across the fields, and the workers gathered to repair what the storm had broken. The crops had survived, thanks to the unity of the people. Lyra stood in the center of the colony, watching the humans move with purpose. She had seen them fight the storm with their bare hands, refusing to give up. Their strength amazed her, not because it came from power, but because it came from courage. She could not stop thinking about it. Tomasz walked among the workers, speaking to each with encouragement. Aaron worked near the fields, his sleeves rolled up, lifting heavy beams that had fallen during the storm. His arms were covered with scratches, yet he carried the weight without complaint. Lyra felt her heart stir again. She remembered her own words from the night before her confession that human men were too tempting, too powerful in their warmth and courage. But she had only told Aaron. No one else knew. Now, as she watched the colony repair itself, she wondered if she should speak the truth to everyone. That evening, when the work was finally done, the colonists gathered again around the fire. It was their way to end hard days with warmth, food, and stories. The fire glowed bright against the dark sky, and laughter rose as children played nearby. But the people were still weary from the storm. Their faces carried lines of worry. Lyra sat near Tomasz and Aaron. For a long time she said nothing, but her mind was heavy. Finally, she stood, her silver markings catching the firelight. The people turned to her, their voices fading into silence. She took a deep breath, her voice steady though her heart raced. "I must tell you something," she began. "I came here to learn about humans. I thought I would only study your homes, your work, your ways of survival. But what I have found is more than I expected. I have seen how your men stand in storms, how they fight with courage not for themselves but for their families. I have seen laughter even in hardship. I have seen kindness in every small act. And I must confess this truth to all of you." The fire crackled as she paused. Every face around the circle was fixed on her. "Human males are too tempting for me," she said clearly. "Not because of their bodies, not because of power, but because of the fire in their hearts. They carry strength that my people do not show. They carry warmth that my people do not understand. When I look at them, I see courage, hope, and honesty. These things draw me closer than I ever thought possible." The colony was silent. Her words hung in the air like sparks from the fire. For a moment, no one spoke. Then whispers rose among the people. Some were surprised, some confused. A few laughed nervously, unsure how to take her words. But no one mocked her openly. Tomasz raised his hand, and the whispers faded. "You speak with honesty," Tomasz said calmly. "And honesty is respected among us. But your words are heavy, Lyra. Do you understand what they mean?" She nodded. "I do. I know I am not like you. I know I come from a people who do not live with laughter or open hearts. But what I feel here is stronger than silence. I cannot hide it." Aaron looked at her, his face unreadable. He remembered her quiet confession to him alone, and now she had spoken the same truth to everyone. His heart felt both proud and uncertain. A woman from the colony spoke softly. "You admire us, but why confess this? What do you seek?" Lyra shook her head. "I seek nothing. I do not ask for reward. I only wish to give respect to the men of this colony. Your strength has touched me in ways I cannot explain. My words are my gift to you." The fire burned brighter as the people thought about her confession. Some smiled, feeling pride in being recognized by a visitor from the stars. Others were cautious, wondering if her admiration carried hidden danger. But Tomasz spoke again, his voice strong. "Lyra, your confession shows courage. To speak your heart before strangers is never easy. Among us, such honesty is not shame, but honor. You are a guest, but you are also now part of our story." The people nodded slowly. The tension eased. Children went back to their play, and adults returned to their meals, though many still cast curious glances at Lyra. Later, when the fire grew low, Lyra sat alone near the edge of the colony. She looked at the stars, her silver markings glowing faintly. Aaron came to her side, quiet as always. For a while, neither spoke. Finally, he said, "Your words reached them. They will not forget tonight." Lyra turned her eyes to him. "Do you think I was wrong to speak?" He shook his head. "No. You spoke what was in your heart. That is never wrong. But you must know it will change how they see you." She lowered her gaze. "Yes. I feel it already. But I could not keep it inside. The truth pressed against me until it had to be free." Aaron looked at her, seeing the mix of strength and fear in her eyes. He gave a small smile. "Then let it be free. Humans respect those who stand by their words. You showed them that tonight." Her chest felt lighter. She gave him a grateful smile in return. As the night deepened, the colony settled into rest. Families slept in their homes, the fields lay quiet under the moon, and the stars stretched endlessly above. But in the hearts of the people, a new story had begun. An alien girl had confessed a truth no one expected, that human men carried something so powerful it could move the soul of a traveler from the stars. Lyra lay awake in her ship, replaying the night again and again in her mind. She wondered how far her feelings would take her. She wondered if the humans would truly accept her heart. But more than anything, she knew her life had changed. The confession was out, and nothing would ever be the same. The morning after Lyra's confession, the colony woke to a quiet tension. The air was crisp, carrying the smell of wet soil from the storm that had passed days before. Humans moved through their morning routines as usual, tending crops, checking tools, and preparing meals, but glances were cast toward Lyra more often than before. Her presence, once quietly observed, now carried a weight that everyone could feel. Children were the first to approach her. They ran up with smiles and laughter, asking her questions about her ship, her home world, and the markings on her skin. Lyra knelt to answer them gently, careful not to frighten them. She laughed softly when they asked if she could fly them in her ship. The children's innocence reminded her why she admired humans so much. Their hearts were open even after hardship. Meanwhile, the adults gathered in small groups. Some spoke in whispers, sharing opinions about her words from the night before. A few men chuckled nervously, unsure how to react to her confession. Others looked thoughtful, admiring her honesty. Tomasz observed them all, his face calm, but his mind calculating the balance between curiosity and caution. Aaron stayed close to her side, working quietly in the fields. He noticed the looks they exchanged among themselves and could sense the mixture of surprise and admiration in their eyes. He felt a sense of pride in the trust she placed in him. Her words had revealed not only her feelings but also her respect for the men of the colony. That respect, he realized, could strengthen bonds between species. As the sun climbed higher, Lyra walked among the workers, offering her help wherever needed. She moved gracefully, carrying tools, lifting light supplies, and assisting with repairs. The men who had once been cautious now smiled at her willingness. Some teased her gently, showing that they accepted her as part of the community. At midday, Tomasz called a meeting near the central fire pit. The people gathered, curious and slightly nervous. Lyra joined them, her silver markings gleaming under the bright sun. She waited quietly, unsure of what Tomasz would say but willing to face the consequences of her words. Tomasz spoke first, his voice steady and strong. "Last night, Lyra spoke openly to all of us. She confessed that she admires the men of our colony, not for their strength alone, but for their courage, kindness, and honesty. Many of you were surprised, but her words are honest and her intentions clear. She does not seek to harm or take advantage of anyone. She only recognizes the qualities we hold in our hearts." A murmur ran through the crowd, but it was not hostile. The colonists were thinking, weighing the meaning of her words. Tomasz continued. "In our community, honesty and courage are honored. Lyra has shown courage in speaking her truth. She is a guest, but her honesty makes her a part of our story." One of the older men, Gregor, stepped forward. His face was lined with experience, his eyes careful but kind. "She has spoken truthfully," he said. "We work hard, we fight storms, and we care for each other. It is not wrong for someone to see that. If she admires us, it shows her heart is open." Another man, David, added with a small smile, and it is rare for someone to recognize our struggles honestly. Her words remind us that what we do has meaning. The crowd began to nod, slowly understanding. Lyra felt a warmth rise in her chest. She had feared rejection, but instead, she saw respect and acceptance. Children peeked from behind adults, their eyes wide and curious. Some of the younger men gave her shy smiles, unsure how to respond to her admiration. Aaron stood beside her, silent but steady. He finally spoke. Lyra, your words were not easy to hear, and yet you spoke them with courage. That is what humans value most. Honesty, strength, and courage. You have shown all three tonight. She looked at him, a soft smile forming. I only spoke the truth. I could not hide what I felt inside. I did not expect acceptance, but your people, they honor honesty in ways I never knew. As the day passed, the colony adjusted to this new understanding. Lyra's presence no longer felt strange. She joined in daily tasks, helped children with lessons, and assisted in preparing meals. Men worked beside her in the fields, sometimes teasing her lightly, showing trust and camaraderie. The colony began to see her not as a visitor from another world but as a companion willing to share in their struggles. In the evening, after the work was done, Lyra and Aaron walked to the edge of the settlement. The sun was setting, painting the sky with shades of orange and pink. The air carried the fresh scent of earth and leaves, calm after the day's labor. Aaron spoke first. You see how they treat you now. They respect your honesty and your courage. They may have been surprised, but they admire it as much as I do. Lyra nodded, her silver markings reflecting the last light of the sun. It is more than I hoped for. I fear judgment, fear, or rejection. But your people, they have shown me warmth that I did not expect. He smiled quietly. It is because you spoke from your heart. Humans honor that above all. Strength and skill are good, but honesty and courage matter more. She looked at him, her gaze lingering. I want to understand more. I want to be part of your lives, to learn from you, and perhaps, to share my own knowledge. But my heart is tangled with what I feel for your people. It is confusing. Aaron placed a hand on her shoulder, steady and reassuring. It will be a journey. Feelings are complicated, but your honesty will guide you. You have already taken the first step by speaking your truth. Now, we will help you understand our ways, and you will help us learn about yours. Lyra smiled, her heart feeling lighter than it had in her travels. She realized that her confession had not isolated her, it had united her with the colony. Her admiration of the human men was no longer a secret burden but a bridge of understanding. The night fell quietly over the settlement. Fires burned in small homes, children slept soundly, and the adults rested after a long day. Lyra stayed near the edge, gazing at the stars. She thought of her people, distant and cold, and then of this colony, warm and alive. She understood that the strength she admired in the humans was more than physical, it was in their hearts, their courage, and their honesty. For the first time, Lyra felt truly at home among humans. She had confessed her truth, and the colony had responded with acceptance. Tomorrow, she knew, would bring new challenges, but also new chances to learn and grow. The path ahead was bright, filled with discovery, and perhaps, the beginnings of something more than she had ever imagined. The days that followed Lyra's confession were filled with learning, laughter, and quiet moments of reflection. The colony had accepted her fully. Children ran to her with questions and stories, while adults included her in work and planning. Lyra walked through the settlement with a sense of belonging she had never felt before. Each smile, each nod, reminded her that honesty and courage were valued here. She spent her mornings helping in the fields. Aaron often worked alongside her, guiding her hands when necessary, sharing lessons about soil, machines, and patience. Lyra admired the rhythm of their work, the careful balance between strength and care. She noticed how the men encouraged each other, how they praised small victories, and how they shared the weight of every task. She realized that human strength was not just in the body, but in the heart. One afternoon, she visited the school to assist the children with lessons. She taught them about distant stars, planets, and the ships that could travel between them. The children listened with wide eyes, asking endless questions about worlds they could barely imagine. Lyra answered patiently, seeing in their curiosity the same joy she felt when learning about humans. She explained her markings, her ship, and the journeys she had taken. For the first time, she felt that her own knowledge had value, and that sharing it strengthened the bonds between them. Evenings were quiet and reflective. Lyra often walked to the edge of the settlement, watching the sun set behind the hills. The firelight from homes and the stars above gave her a feeling of connection, of being both small and important at the same time. Aaron often joined her. They spoke of the colony, the challenges they faced, and the small joys that made life worth living. One evening, as they watched the sky turn shades of pink and orange, Lyra spoke softly. "Aaron, I have traveled across so many stars. I have seen worlds with wonders beyond imagination. Yet nothing has moved me like your people. Your strength, your courage, your laughter, it has changed me." Aaron smiled, his eyes reflecting the last light of the sun. "You have become part of us, Lyra. You share your knowledge, your curiosity, and your honesty. That is what makes you strong. That is why we trust you." Her heart swelled with warmth. For the first time, she felt that she did not need to hide her feelings or her admiration. The colony had accepted her, and she had accepted herself. She had confessed her truth, and it had been met with respect and understanding. Days turned into weeks. Lyra continued to help the colony grow. She learned to repair tools with skill, to plant crops efficiently, and to care for the animals that had been brought to the settlement. She shared stories of the stars, teaching children and adults alike about distant worlds. The colony, in return, taught her the value of patience, courage, and joy in the small moments. One morning, a challenge arose that would test the colony's unity. A neighboring valley, once calm, had become unstable. Rocks and mudslides threatened to reach the colony's far fields. Tomash called a meeting, explaining the danger. Men and women gathered their tools, prepared barriers, and organized plans to protect the crops. Lyra stepped forward, offering her help. "Let me assist," she said. "I have knowledge of structures and reinforcement from my travels. I can help guide you." Tomash nodded. "Your help will be valued. Lead where you can, and work with us." Together, they built barriers, dug drainage channels, and reinforced vulnerable areas. Aaron stayed near her, coordinating efforts and encouraging workers. Lyra felt the same admiration for human courage she had confessed before, but now she also felt a sense of pride in contributing to their safety. She realized that her fascination had grown into deep respect and belonging. By the end of the day, the immediate threat was controlled. The colony was safe, the crops secured, and the people exhausted but smiling. Tomash praised the efforts of all, emphasizing the strength of unity and the courage of every individual. Lyra stood quietly, feeling that she had become more than a visitor. She had become part of the colony's heartbeat. That night, under a sky filled with stars, Lyra and Aaron walked alone near the edge of the settlement. The air was calm, carrying the scent of earth and flowers. She finally spoke what had been in her heart for so long. Aaron, when I first arrived, I admired your people from afar. I thought it was only curiosity. But now I know it is more. I feel connected to your lives, to your courage, and to your hearts. I do not wish to leave. I want to remain here, to be part of your story, to grow alongside you. Aaron turned to her, his face calm and kind. Lyra, your presence has changed us all. You have shared knowledge, honesty, and care. You have shown courage by speaking your truth. You belong here as much as any of us. You are part of our lives now. A gentle smile spread across her face. For the first time, she felt complete. She realized that strength and temptation were not about power or beauty alone. They were about honesty, courage, and the choice to live with the heart open. Human men, and the colony as a whole, had taught her this truth. In the following weeks, Lyra integrated fully into the community. She helped organize celebrations for harvests, taught children to read and write, and even guided the construction of new homes. She laughed with them, worked with them, and shared in every hardship and triumph. Aaron and she developed a steady friendship, filled with mutual respect and understanding. Her admiration for human courage and warmth remained, but it had grown into deep appreciation and belonging. One evening, as the colony gathered for a festival to celebrate the recent success of the crops, Lyra stood among them. Children danced, music filled the air, and adults shared stories by the fire. Tomasz raised a toast. To our people, he said, and to those who join us in courage and honesty. Tonight, we celebrate not only survival but unity. We honor strength in all its forms. Lyra smiled, looking around at the faces of the colony. She saw acceptance, respect, and warmth reflected in every eye. For the first time in her life, she felt completely at home. The humans had taught her the power of the heart, the beauty of honesty, and the strength of community. She looked at Aaron, who met her gaze with a quiet smile. No words were needed. They both understood the journey they had shared, the lessons learned, and the bonds formed. Lyra knew that she had found a new home, a place where she could live freely, learn endlessly, and grow with people she admired deeply. And so, under the stars of the distant planet, the alien girl stood among humans, her heart full, her spirit light, and her future wide open. She had confessed the truth of her feelings and had been met with respect and warmth. She had learned that human strength was not in muscle or machines but in courage, honesty, and the choice to live fully. The colony thrived, the people worked and laughed together, and Lyra found her place among them. The lessons of the humans, their hearts, and their courage, had forever changed her. A new beginning had arrived not just for the colony, but for the alien girl who had traveled across the stars and discovered the true power of humanity.